Drea, welcome to the cave. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me in the cave. I love being in the cave. I like to be locked up in the cave.
The listeners, the viewers that tune into this interview can see your latest project, Collide, which premiered a few weeks ago in the theaters, and now I believe today on demand also, right?
Yeah, on demand everywhere tonight. I'm going to watch it tonight. I still haven't seen it, so you're going to have to tell me about this movie.
Well, I was able to see it a few weeks ago.
Oh,
And I
cool.
love the whole thriller, action, a little drama. How were you approached for this project? And I love how you've played a little bit of everything. You know, The Sopranos, you've done comedy with Joey, and now this. It's like I love how you bounce around with different roles.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, well, this was like post lockdown, right out of that time. I didn't have high expectations for anything that was going on my desk and having to read, but this one jumped right out because first of all, Jim Gaffigan in an emotional, sad, quiet role definitely appealed to me, but the script was just like a real banger, man. I love anything that takes place over one night in one place with a bunch of people that do not know each other. And literally, like the title says, everything collides. So everyone is experiencing life in like this everybody's having their own emotional roller coaster in each section of the restaurant. And then at the very end, it just, explodes into a mess.
Yeah, I love it. I love how there's like you mentioned, there's like 3 or 4 different stories happening at the same time.
Yeah, it was amazing. McCunn is an amazing writer, amazing director. I didn't even know how anybody could pull such a thing off, but it was flawless and effortless while we were shooting it. So I'm sure that the end product, and it came out pretty quickly considering we just shot this. It was great. It's a great concept, great idea, heavy subject going on, and fun all at once. Like it's definitely a fun thriller.
So Angie, what kind of description were you given for her, and how did you prepare to play this role?
Angie's like me. She's probably 50, going through her midlife crisis. The only difference between she and I is I've done it all and lived on the edge my whole life, and she probably lived a very safe life with her husband Jim. I always imagined that he probably pulled her out of the trenches of life, that she was maybe living an unsafe life at that time, maybe broken in a lot of ways, and he kind of gave her a safe place to live for many years. And then she just sort of turned on him when she started to feel like she needed to branch out and have her midlife crisis. Yeah, so she's a cheater, but I understand where she was coming from, even though I don't condone that behavior necessarily, but everybody has their story and their reasonings. But for me to take this project, it was more about just how great Mukunda wrote the whole thing. I really loved it, and I love that it was right down the hill from my house, and I could just go to work very easily.
What drew you to the role, and is there anything like you would like a challenge with this role at all?
There were things that I was supposed to do that I didn't have to do because we ran out of time. Like I would have to dance by myself in the bar, and I don't like being exposed like that. I like to work with actors and like all of a sudden it's just such a self-conscious thing. So that was a challenge, but no, it wasn't necessarily, yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for me to have to be sexy with an actor on film. Like I'm always flirting with him and talking to him, and David Cade, who plays my boyfriend. I feel more comfortable in the parts with Jim where I can be more snotty or pissed off or sad. Like those are the emotions I'm used to playing that I'm good at. But to play that flirty vibe, like that's not who I am in real life so much. I don't know. But I am a 50-year-old woman who has a younger boyfriend in real life, so I was playing that in the movie. It always seems like every time I take a role, it's exactly what's going on in my life.
You mentioned Jim Gaffigan. He plays your husband, Peter. What kind of connection do you have between you two? And that scene in the parking lot where it's like raining a little bit, like it's emotional between you two.
Yeah, it was, but he pulled the jokes out the second they yelled cut. I was so grateful for that. It's like because most actors annoy me to death. So, and you know, being able to be with a comedian, it's funny. Like every time I work with somebody, I've been so lucky that anytime I work with someone, I feel like I've known them forever. You know, like there are a few actors that are a little precious about their stuff, and luckily I haven't had to be around that too much. But I definitely felt like immediately with Jim, like I had already known him. I felt the same way with David Cade. It's strange how that goes with us actors, but you know, we just met each other that night, Jim and I.
Wow.
Like, we shot that, and I mean, that was just over the course of a couple of days.
Wow.
So it was quick. We, you know, us actors, we know how to find it
Right.
fast. We gotta find it fast.
Right.
Especially if you come from TV, you know what I mean?
Right. And then two different characters, you know, Jim plays like this really nice guy. He's there for you, like he loves you and everything. And then you have David Cade's character. He's, you know, I don't want to use the word, but he's like kind of an asshole in a way.
Yes. Well, that's what she's looking for. I mean, she's taken her safety for granted. I think a lot of what goes on in this movie is about safety and fear. And I think that theme plays out in every one of the storylines going on. Which is
what did you love about Angie?
What did I love about Angie? I mean, you're never supposed to put down a character you're playing. But I disagree with a lot of stuff about Angie, but I think in the end, I don't want to give away any storylines, but in the end, I feel like she recognizes that you know, she's in the wrong place. But at the same time, I do love the fact that she's willing to risk it. She's willing to take the risk for love to see if she can find that meaningful connection. And a lot of times we sort of hide and stay in relationships that don't fulfill us anymore just to be safe. And, you know, I know I'm someone who's jumped from relationship to relationship in search of the perfect partnership. So I guess I am sort of like her in that way, but not that I would be cheating to find that.
Last question about Collide is what are you hoping for when the viewers tune in to watch this for the first time?
What do I want them to say it again? Sorry.
What are you hoping for they feel when they watch this for the first time?
Oh, I just hope that nobody goes on a blind date after this. No blind dates.
No blind dates. So Collide's available, like I said, selected theaters on demand today. I want to end this interview by telling you a few months ago I had Paulo on and he speaks very highly of you.
I love Paulo so much. How is he?
He was great. And it's like we talked a little bit about Joey and everything. And, you know, he had his up and downs about it, but he said if he could do a reunion, he would.
I would too. You know, I hated doing it when I did it. And Matt held my hand through the whole process because he worked me over the coals to say yes to doing it. And then we had so much fun on Friday nights, but I never felt like I could measure up to all of their comedic prowess. They were all great, even though Paulo was new and Andrea was new and Matt was a veteran. I just felt like I didn't belong there. And now looking back on it, what I would do for that job, we all complained about it, all of us, because Matt was coming from Friends, I was coming from The Sopranos. We had so much success combined. And now we're in this and the expectations were so high. I mean, we still had millions of viewers, but we didn't even recognize that as being important back then, you know?
Would you ever do another sitcom if you could?
I feel like I'm not smart enough or quick enough to memorize lines on the spot in such a way. It's a real talent to be on the money like that. If it were with Matt, I would do anything, honestly, because I loved him so much and he was so generous and he was such a teacher in that environment. Like I couldn't have asked for a better partner to try that out with. So yeah, I would do it. I would do it all over again, but with Matt. But it has to be with Matt.
There you go. You know, I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes today to talk about your latest project, and hopefully we'll see you in a few more coming down the road.
Right on, man. Look out for One Way that comes out in September.